Tune into The Final Take with MK Mariner every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines, breaking issues, and major developments in politics, business, innovation, science, and sports, along with inspiring stories and expert analysis to provide a comprehensive understanding of the news.
Hello and warm welcome to yet another exciting edition of The Final Take with me, Seni MK Mariner, live from our virtual studios here in Seattle. This week, a big interview with lawyer Ousainou Darboe, who leads the United Democratic Party. The Final Take examines the country's journey in a fresh democratic dispensation and prospect for effective change, including constitutional, electoral and transitional justice reform. That's The Final Take, exploring a week of news and current affairs around the world. Many thanks for joining us. Welcome to the program. Let's get straight into the conversation with a quick profile of our special guest political figurehead, lawyer Ousainou Darboe, who heads the United Democratic Party. Born in August 1948 in Central River Region town of Bansang, lawyer Darboe has been an influential figure in Gambian politics for several decades. Darboe's educational background includes studies in law, which he pursued in Nigeria and United Kingdom. The legal expert graduated from University of Lagos and later became a barrister after being called to the bar at Lincoln Inn in London. His legal career in the Gambia has been one that is a distinctive legacy, focusing on human rights and justice. In 1996, Darboe founded the United Democratic Party in response to political climate under former President Yahya Jammeh. He became a key opposition leader advocating for democratic reform and human rights throughout his political career. Darboe has been a vocal critic of the authoritarian practices and has faced multiple arrests and detention due to his opposition activities. Following the end of Jammeh rule in 2017, Darboe played a key role in the country's transition to democracy, serving as Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Vice President in Barrow administration. However, his political journey also includes challenges and disagreement, leading to his eventual return to the opposition politics. Darboe remained a very key figure in Gambian politics, known for his commitment to democratic principle and enduring influence within the UDP and broader political landscape of the Gambia. Ousainou Darboe also contested several presidential elections in the Gambia before the end of Jammeh's rule. He ran for presidency in 1996, 2001, 2006, and 2011. In each of these elections, he was unsuccessful in his bid to unseat Yahya Jammeh. Let's get into the conversation and warm welcome, lawyer Darboe, to The Final Take with me, Seni Mariner.
Thank you, Mr. Mariner, for hosting me this evening. Well, we are in the evening in the Gambia, and certainly you must be in the morning in Seattle. Yeah, so thank you very much for hosting me, for giving me an opportunity to have a conversation with your audience across the globe. In your introduction, I just wish to make one or two corrections. I did not study law in the United Kingdom. I studied law in Nigeria and in Canada. I wasn't called to the Lincoln Inn. I was called to the bar, to the Nigerian bar, and that made me barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. as well as a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of the Gambia. The party, United Democratic Party, also, I did not found. It was founded by people who really went out on a head hunt to really get a leader for the party. So I am grateful for the choice of the people who formed their party and agreed among themselves to select me to lead the party. And I have since then been enjoying, their grace. I have since then been enjoying their support. Thank you very much for hosting me.
Thank you, Mr. Darboe, and I'm glad that you clarified those very important details about your career. My apologies for that. So going into the interview stage, the Gambia entered a very critical period of significant milestone in transition towards democracy. Do you see the Gambia effectively consolidating the gains made since 2016 when the media remained under attack in Barrow, Gambia?
Well, I believe that the Gambia did very well in 2016 in voting out Jammeh and bringing to an end an era of dictatorship, an era during which the rule of law was stifled, an era during which tyranny reigned supreme. The Gambians, were really did what was expected of them to bring that rule to an end. There was great expectations in every aspect, expectations that our democracy, expectations that our adherence to the rule of law will really take very strong roots. It will not be superficial, it will just not be cosmetic. And actually, that is what every one of us had hoped for. And I believe everyone started working in that direction. I believe that was why the Truth and Reconciliation and Reparation Act was passed. That is why the Constitutional Review Commission was set up. And that is why government really engaged our international partners and started working on security sector reform. And that is why I believe that the reforms that would really usher in freedom of the press, that the press would remain, would remain unthreatened. People are talking about them freely, but then these efforts appear to have been derailed. Instead of concentrating on really these reforms, instead of concretizing our democracy, we started seeing that the erosion of our democracy, started seeing intolerance by the regime, that those who are in opposition to the government have been seen as enemies. They have been seen as people who really do not mean well for this country, and that anyone who does not speak the language of the ruling party, or who does not really show himself in alliance with the ruling party, are regarded as people who have no good intention for this country, which is creating a very, very unhealthy relationship between the government or between the members of the ruling party and those who are not in the ruling party. It's getting disappointed. It's a situation that where people have started getting disappointed, because this is what we bargained for. And for me, the transition has really not commenced. The transition is just not putting in place the laws, but there must be proper applications of the laws. Those laws that we are inhibiting free expression, laws that we are inhibiting freedom of association, we would have thought that these laws would have been away. They would have been things of the past. Okay. We did not think that. Yeah.
Go ahead. Mhm. Mr. Darboe, recently there has been a lot of issues happening in the Gambia, including the attack on the press and also a lot of corruption, scandals that is rocking, the country. How would UDP government address some of these challenges? Should they be voted into power?
Well, certainly, if we are voted into power, all the laws that are inimical to press freedom, in fact, all the laws that militate against the exercise of one's constitutional right, all those laws will be repealed. There would be no place for the Public Order Act in our country, particularly sections 5 and 6. Those ones will be repealed. There may be other sections that might be retained. Section dealing with maintenance of militia and so forth, private militia and so forth, that will be maintained. But then the ones that lead to freedom of assembly, freedom of demonstration, peaceful demonstration, those restrictions will certainly go away. Decrease, I think, is decrease 70 and 71, which deal with the which are restrictive as far as the media is concerned, will all go away. This is of false information will all go away. Criminal libel will go away. If I feel that I'm defamed, I should be able to go to court and really vindicate my character and not subject the people who I believe have maligned me, whom I believe have slandered me or have libeled me, to hand them over to the police for prosecution. I will not allow such a law to be to remain in our statute book. We were happy that the Criminal Offences Act or bill that is currently before the National Assembly is doing away with sedition. I think we want to congratulate both the executive and our lawmakers for really taking that direction. But you cannot really be placing before the National Assembly proposals for repealing the law of sedition in the law of sedition in the country, and yet taking people to court for sedition is contradictory. It doesn't show really good intention. It does not rhyme with the intentions of government. It does not rhyme at all. So we will do away with that, and for us, we will not have a Janet commission just for the cosmetics of it, just for window dressing. We will ensure that the recommendations of the commissions are accepted, because we know that recommendation can be rejected, but we will not really reject any recommendation that comes to us through any commission of inquiry that we have set up to investigate any particular matter or any particular issue. Compromising compromising the findings of the Janet Commission is really entrenching corruption. Is really giving approval to corruption. We will not put in our constitution a provision that excuses the president and members of his cabinet from declaring their assets when leaving office. They must declare their assets after leaving office, so that the Anti-Corruption Commission or whichever authority is responsible for receiving those declarations will determine whether or not, since assuming office, the president or his ministers have actually accumulated wealth beyond their legitimate and lawful earnings. We will ensure that is not included in our constitution, and that is what the Barrow Constitution provides for, that he and his ministers will make a declaration of their assets before assuming office, but they will not make a declaration of their assets after leaving office. And between assuming office and the time of vacating office, you could amass millions and millions. Absolutely. Now, illegitimately, you don't want to disclose that. You don't want to be accountable. No, that is not an indication that this government wants to fight corruption, and we have committed ourselves ironclad to fight corruption in all its manifestations.
Okay, Mr. Darboe, despite its limitation, the country is far cry from Jammeh's model. What role will parties in opposition play in the quest to strengthen much anticipated reform, such as the new constitution? Is this an achievable vision, and how will a UDP government prioritize electoral reform?
Well, I think that maybe you have two questions in there. How would the UDP government get the political parties participate in this? You see, I have always believed that the running of the affairs of the state should not be the prerogative only of the ruling party. Mm-hmm. I believe that there should be consultations between the ruling party or the government and the alternative government, because all the parties that in opposition, each and every one of them is an alternative government. Mm-hmm. So there should be consultations between the government and those alternative governments. And when I say alternative government, it doesn't mean that every political party registered is an alternative government. You'll be able to know the serious ones amongst them and others that have just been registered.
The opposition parties are governments in the waiting, you know.
Yes, yes. That is the opposition parties are government in waiting. But I want to qualify that serious opposition parties are governments in waiting. Just being registered as a political party, really, for some other reasons, does not qualify you to be a government in waiting. I do not want to mention any political party as being a party has been a party that is a government in waiting. But I will refer to UDP as a party that is a government in waiting. There may be one or two other political parties that I sincerely believe and honestly believe that they can also be appropriately described in waiting. But I don't want to mention them, because if I do, by that process of elimination, others will think that I do not have much regard for them. So the serious ones, if we form a government, we will have consultations with them on very serious national issues, because it's not just the government that has the prerogative, the say in the run of the affairs of the state. You have to have the views of other stakeholders so that together we move our country. I mean, treating them at arm's length. You must treat them as partners in the running of the affairs of the state. They are there in the National Assembly, mark you, and as people's representatives in the National Assembly, they have a say in the in passing legislation for this country, and in fact in making laws that will really guide the executive in the performance of its functions. So those people, you cannot ignore them. You have to have consultations with them. Not necessarily that you consult with them on the appointment of a minister, on the appointment of a permanent secretary, but on certain general policies, especially matters that are general, national concern and of huge importance. I think government should really consult. Like, for instance, when there was the COVID. Yeah, when there was during the COVID period, that was a period that no politics, no partisan politics. All parties should really have put their hands on deck, and we all work together in order to ameliorate the hazards of COVID-19. Those type of situations, in times of national emergency, governments should really be in conversation with the opposition parties, with the serious opposition parties, who can give alternative views, or if not giving alternative views that government holds, how to improve on those views in order to have a proper implementation of the desired policies.
Mr. Darboe, talking about serious opposition political parties, we are 2 years to the crucial 2026 presidential election. Is there any way that the UDP will seek the support of other political parties in their journey to unseat Barrow? Because many people believe that the incumbency is hard to defeat incumbent, without collaboration and partnership from other political parties. Are we seeing a UDP government, a UDP leaning to other smaller political parties, in your own word, serious political parties, to form a coalition to take on Barrow?
Absolutely, 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 absolutely. We are certainly open, and certainly we may be making the move to approach other parties. I'm not saying that we will do so, but we may do so, and I don't think it will be out of place for us if we do that. I think that will be in the interest of the country. So what is in the interest of the country, we will do. I just don't want to say here that we are going to approach, political parties, and then this question start being asked: which political parties are you going to approach, and which political parties are you going to approach? But certainly, it is a desired move, and it's something that is in the best interest of the Gambia. So we will. So it's very high in our in our thinking, and we certainly will approach political parties at the right time.
Okay, you will approach political parties at the right time. For those watching, this is the final take with me, Ousainou Marina. In the studio is the leader of the biggest opposition party in the country, lawyer Ousainou Darboe. Mr. Darboe, recently there have been a lot of talks about your party, like the flag bearer issue. A lot of people are like, Mr. Darboe need to give chance now after contesting 5 presidential elections to the young, vibrant, members of his party. Are we seeing lawyer Darboe, contesting another election in 2026?
Well, let me see those opinions being expressed by members of the United Democratic Party. Let me see those opinions being expressed by members of the Democratic Party. We are not going to give into some baseless propaganda by our opponents. We are not going to do that. Let these opinions come from members of the United Democratic Party. I have always been committed, and I continue to be committed to really preparing the ground for our young people to take over. You can see it in the leadership of the local government authorities. They are all young, vibrant people, and that's where you start preparing, grooming people for leadership at the national level. You can see how young and vibrant the membership of the United Democratic Party NAMS are. So you see that, we are really, probably in the National Assembly, there may be 1 or 2 people, the honorable member for Combo South and honorable member for Serakunda. Other than that, all our NAMs are very, very young, vibrant, and dynamic people, and that is what we are driving at. And you look at our executive, about 60% of the executive are all young people. There are a few elderly people amongst them, and you have, for the executive, you have to have an intergenerational membership. You do not have everything just for the young. You should also have some for the elderly, so that let me finish. So that the youth, when they want to be overwhelmed by their youthful exuberance, the elderly people will come in and calm them down and say, no, that's not the way to go about it. You have the right idea, but that's not the way to go about it. Yeah.
So, because there have been conversations in your party recently that, there are young people that the party want you to bless so that they can, take from you as the party leader. So, and there were also instances that they said the UDP has banned members from talking about the flag bearer issue. Why? Is that internal democracy or what?
Well, in the first place, I'm not aware of any conversation within the party that I should give in leadership to to give a leadership position to anybody. I've not had that conversation within the leadership. And indeed, within the UDP, there has not been any ban on the conversation for a flag bearership. What we have said is that the time to talk about the flag bearership is not now. It is when applications are open for the flag bearer that people should talk about it. Because for now, to talking about it is distracting. And we should not be distracted by that, something that is really not on now. That should not distract us. Probably when you get distracted, it can lead to something consequential, which might not be the desire of anyone within the party. So we say, look, we shouldn't talk about this flag bearership now until when applications are open. I don't when applications are open, and then you can talk about flag bearership. Anyone who wants to be flag bearer has a right to apply. Every member of the United Democratic Party, educated, has a right to apply to become the flag bearer of the party, and it will be given due consideration.
Mr. Darboe, do your party, have a successive plan in case if Darboe is not there today, then somebody, able and willing can, take your position? Because most political parties lack a successive plan, both in the opposition and in the ruling party.
You see, success. I mean, a succession plan. Yeah. When you people talk about it, you mean identification of an individual.
Yes.
Yeah. Now tell me, look at the Conservative Party. How many times have they changed leaders? Was any particular individual groomed to become leader? There's a crop of people who were in leadership position, and all of them showed their interest, and then each of them canvassed for support among members of the Conservative Party, and the person who won the greatest admiration and support of members of the Conservative Party came in. When David Cameron was about leaving, he didn't groom anybody to succeed. But then the Conservative Party met and selected, I believe it was Theresa May, to succeed him. And when Theresa May was leaving, she didn't nominate, she didn't groom anybody. But yet, when she left, Boris Johnson took over. And so it was until Sunak. And Sunak is leaving, but Sunak has not groomed any particular individual. But then there's a crop of people from which the leadership, from which the Conservative Party thought that from these people we will select our leader. In the UDP, you have them in abundance. Young people who are all in leadership positions. And each and every one of them is capable to lead the party. Each and every one of them is capable to run the affairs of this country as president of the Gambia. In fact, to run the affairs of the country better than Adama Barrow and better than Yahya Jammeh. Each and every one of them. So this issue of really Mr. X, is one that is groomed. It's not on. Look! Go to South Africa. Yeah, Nelson Mandela. They didn't groom any particular individual. If at all, let me just finish that. If Nelson Mandela were to groom to point at a particular individual, it would probably have been the current president, because when he was in prison, the current president was part of the negotiations with the apartheid government for his release and working out all the conditions. But no, But then they have a crop of young people, dedicated leadership of the ANC, and amongst them, the ANC selected one of them to be the leader. I think it was selected Thabo Mbeki. After Thabo Mbeki, Zuma. After Zuma, now the current president. So I mean, we have very young, dynamic leadership. As I said, each and every one of whom, is a leader, and each and every one of whom is a presidential material. When it comes to selection, I think we'll go. I think we'll do that. So we are not going to say that yes, Mr. X, is Cinema Arena or is Bakar Fati or is or is Ansumana Kokonate. No, no.
But anyone the party choose, the UDP will rally behind that particular party, including lawyer Darboe himself.
Obviously, because whoever is selected as leader is carrying the vision of the party, is carrying on and is prepared to implement the programs and the programs and the manifesto of the party. So whoever is selected is certainly, I think, will certainly get the support of every member of the party.
Okay, because we are journalists, and then we monitor what people say, with regards to political activities in the country. Recently, a lot of people think that your party is in crisis because you've seen some of your party supporters, going back and forth with each other online about this successive plan and stuff like. How united is the United Democratic Party as we speak right now?
But the United Democratic Party is as united as it was in 1996. The fact that what you say, one or two individuals might really be batting for different people doesn't show that there's no unity within the party. After all, we can't all agree on whom you want to succeed, Mr. Darboe. We can't all agree on that. So, showing differences doesn't mean disagreement. It doesn't mean disagreement at all. And the only what I've told our people is that, yes, each and every one of you has a right to route for Cinema Arena. Or you can route for Mr. Konate. But you must do so with utmost respect. And you must do so having regard to the fact that you all belong to the same party. Just as I've given the Conservative Party scenario. The candidates that vied for the position of leadership of the Conservative Party routed for different individuals. But they did so exhibiting the greatest decorum, arguing on principles, putting forward arguments that when you look at it, you think they're unassailable. And yet, they all agreed for one person. When that person was selected as leader, they all fell back and continued to work for the party, that is the Conservative Party. And I tell people that is what must be our approach. And we cannot really allow our desires or our routing for our candidate of choice to really affect our unity. In fact, it has not affected our unity because we all think that we are United Democratic Party. And because we are United Democratic Party, that is why we are showing that, look, for me, as Cinema Arena, I want him to be the leader. Another one says, no, I want Ousmane Konate to be the leader. But we are all United Democratic Party, and we all want to rely on the strength of the United Democratic Party to give support. When our candidate is selected as leader, to give support to that our leader, so that we all work for the objectives of the United Democratic Party.
Mr. Darboe, beside political deliberation, we have seen you embrace inter-party engagement, fostering unity in political spectrum. In what ways will increased dialogue impact the country's transitional justice efforts? Sorry.
It's a inter-party cooperation, inter-party dialogue. It's a sine qua non for the political stability of our country. It's a sine qua non for really the conduct of true, true and easy campaigns. We must have that. We must make sure that we do not encourage hostility, between political parties. We must also make sure that we do not regard each and everyone. We do not regard each other as enemies. We don't even regard others as opponents. I think we should all regard ourselves as rivals. That is what we should do. And then rivals who all have the same objective, at least what we say in our manifestos and what we say on the political platform. We all have the same objective, and that objective is to build a better Gambia. The route by that, maybe we differ, and maybe also the commitment to that, maybe we differ. Maybe we believe that we are more committed to that than any other political party. That is why we say the affairs of this state, of the Gambia, must be given to us. Let us be mandated so that our commitment, we can translate into action, and the Gambian people to benefit from that. So certainly, the inter-party, whether you call it inter-party dialogue, whatever name you call it, I mean, it's a sine qua non. And I think the political parties must be very sincere, in this interactive relationship. It should not just be window dressing. It should not just be for the headlines. That Mr. Darboe and Mr. Well, let me use my nephew's name here. Ibrahim Taboramane. I can use that conveniently. That Mr. Darboe and Mr. Taboramane have met just for the headlines. No, it should be more than that. It should be sincere, and it should be with honesty, and it should be with the sole objective of ensuring that all hostility between Taboramane's party and UDP are eliminated. And in fact, it should be done with the pose that all hostility, if there are any, between political parties, are completely eliminated. I mean, we just don't meet at meeting places and at workshops and so forth. We embrace, we hug each other, we kiss each other, give warm handshakes and smile and so forth. When really, deep down in ourselves, we do not mean that. No, that is hypocrisy. And UDP, for instance, has always been that we must be honest ourselves, honest with the electorates, that we just don't do things for the sake of the cameras. And I'll continue to encourage that, and certainly, and certainly, I believe that there may be one or two other political parties who also would want to encourage that. One thing that we have always believed in is that political parties must not use their very advantaged position in suppressing other political parties, and that is what is happening with the ruling party in this country. They are part of the inter-party committee. They are part of the inter-committee, but in fact, co-chair of the inter-party committee. So that places a heavy burden on the ruling party to ensure that hostility amongst and between political parties are, if not completely eliminated, but are reduced. It should, in fact, be the duty of the co-chair, particularly the NPP co-chair, to douse fire when it's just funny. Doesn't have to wait for any meeting to be called to douse the fire. But then, if putting a political party in a situation that is disadvantageous to that political party, but advantageous to the ruling party, you don't care. Well, that defeats the whole purpose of the inter-party of the inter-party committee.
Absolutely, Mr. Darboe, do you have faith in the government commitment to fulfilling TRRC white paper recommendation? And when you look back to the post 2026 transformation, our journey thus far, are you hopeful for the country's future?
Well, you see, this mantra, never again, it's becoming a big joke. It's really becoming a big joke. Never again doesn't mean that it's not confined to disappearing people. It's not confined to really taking people to Bambadinka. It's not confined to that. This is the whole gamut of the governance structure. Press freedom, the way political parties are treated. Look, when I was being received at the airport, the police put in so much ridiculous conditions that 30 people to be into the airport premises. When musicians, when other people, when they come, the airport is full. It's filled with people. And a national leader comes in and you make such a restriction. And indeed, when President Barrow was returning from New York, I'm sorry, from New York. It was the NPP. It was the NPP propaganda machine that was at work. That people should come out and receive the president. It was not the government of the Gambia, so they were not receiving him as president of the Gambia when they went out there. But they were receiving him as leader of NPP, who had gone to the United Nations, and the NPP people want to celebrate him. No such restrictions were given. They sent out words to Sefolu, to Al Kalulu, and to everybody to come. No restrictions. And these are the sort of these are the sort of things that was happening, starting to try to eclipse your opponent. This was what's happening in Jammeh's time. So the never again mantra is really there, but it's not having any meaning. It's not having any meaning. This is how it starts, gradually, eroding or gradually curtailing people's rights. I mean, why do you have to say that? And then I find it insulting to put in the permit that no derogatory, no derogatory words, as if we were hooligan, as we were men, with profane character, men who have lack training, men who have no culture. Why would I use profane language? Why would I use profane language? Why would the campaign manager be out there to use profane language? I think those are words that the police should not put in permit for any political party. No political leader in this country would use profane language. Any political leader who uses any word that they may think profane, like corruption, they may think that's not good language. But those are the things that we are combating in this country. So making references to those words is really not, insulting. It's not profane. Yeah. So that's an example. That is how Jammeh was trying to restrict us, and we must accept one thing, that there's a distinction between the government of the Gambia and NPP. NPP may be the party, the ruling party, but NPP is not the government. And we all know that when President Adama Barrow was coming, the how do you call it? The mobilization was not done by the government of the Gambia. It was done by the NPP. So that was an NPP occasion. Why should you treat NPP differently from UDP? We are all citizens of this country. These are the things that we say should stop.
Mr. Darboe, things like this remind most Gambians of the dark side of history, when a brutal dictator who rules the country for 22 years with an iron fist. Are we seeing Gambia sliding back into dictatorship? Because some people raise the concern that if people are not careful, Gambia will go back into dictatorship 100%. Do you share this concern with ordinary Gambians that we might end up in dictatorship if we follow our hearts?
Well, certainly. I have always said that it appears that we are gradually sliding into dictatorship, and some of the people on the other side get hurt by that statement. Look, what happened to Sisao? Should that have happened to Sisao?
No.
Look at the harassment to Madi. Yeah, a vehicle stationed by his house, putting not only Madi, well, of course, they cannot intimidate Madi, but then his family, his aged mother, other people there, you put them in a situation of discomfort. Look at what had happened, to Maud Sabali. Two or three occasions when he was arrested. Look at Bayo Sonko. Those were the things that we are having in the Jammeh era. And
But
then
Barrow
it
said
has
that there
started.
was no political opponent was detained at a UN speech. He said, since he took power, there is no political prisoners. Journalists have not been detained. And recently, even my own
Well,
report.
I think he said jailed. I think
Yeah,
he
jail.
said jailed. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
jail.
jailed. I think it really depends on what you think, what you describe as being jailed. What you take that to mean? For me, when you are detained, you are jailed.
Mhm.
You don't have to go through the process of court
Mhm.
and a sentence pronounced on you. Take a man to a 7-star hotel, put him there, lock him, deprive him of his liberty. He is in jail. Whether sentenced formally or not, he is in jail, and that has happened here. So it's not going to mile two. That really means that you are not. Was Yanko Badaba and others not taken to mile two here?
Yeah.
Were they not detained at mile two? So I think it's what I think it is just a hyperbole when he said that no political prisoners here. You don't have to be formally sentenced by a court of law or whatever, whether a court of law or a kangaroo court, for you to be considered to be jailed. When Yankubadab and others were in prison there, they had lost their liberty. They were not free. People seeing them had to have permission. So what are you talking about? They were in jail. They were in jail. Yes.
Mr. Darboe, you came under attack yet again from someone who consider you a political godfather. He is currently in Mankamangkunda, enjoying his annual holiday or leave, you might call it. He said you are not fair to him because the chairman on UDP chairman-led councils are all implicated in corruption, but nobody's hear you speak about that. What's your reaction to Barrow's statement that you are only criticizing, the other part, his NPP councilmen, not yours, because they are all been implicated in corruption by the commission?
Well, I may have made reference to NPP councils, but I'm not sure if I did so. I think I have attacked. Let me not say attacked. I have really questioned the integrity of those of them in the central government. I think that is what I have done. That in fact, I continue to say that the land at South Atlantic Road, the Chief Justice residence, is Gambia government property, and taking that is a misuse of the president's advantage position to have that, and I consider that to be corruption. That's what I said. I don't think I ever mentioned anything about the councils.
Yeah,
But
but
in
he
any
said that
case,
you didn't talk
but
about.
let me. In any case, I don't think I have had anything said at Brikama Area Council about Yankubadabo having done anything. I don't think I have had that. I have not had anything at Kanifing Municipal Council that Talib Bensouda was involved in any corruption. In fact, Talib was fighting corruption. And his government, because his minister did things which he was aware of, hindered Talib in getting rid of someone who was alleged to have been involved in corruption. I'm not saying he was corrupt, but alleged to have been, and they forced the person on them. Yankuba Dabo, when he was fighting against people who were alleged to have been involved in corruption, have they not arrested all the councillors? In fact, the market master, Jao Jallo, was arrested and detained. The councillor for Bruford, Jame, was also arrested. And these people who are fighting corruption seized the key, the car key, to one of the vehicles, Brikama Area Council vehicle. The police seized it because I'm from people who are fighting corruption. What are they talking about? These are people who were put in place in those positions by his government, and when our people wanted to remove them, they said no, you will not remove them. will show that we are the people who have the power. Tell me, I have not heard anything that Mr. Sane did in Jajamut Area Council, but we have heard about the CEO there and his family. That is what we hear. And those are people who are in those positions at their behest. They were there because they thought that these were their NPP supporters, and removing them is really, allowing, what they call UDP chairman and so forth to bring in UDP people there. But no, and I challenge them. Tell me how much, what has Yankuba Darboe done? And tell me, your people whom you say you don't want, whom you say must continue there, and what they have been involved in, at least the allegations I hear. I'm happy. I'm sorry you must have heard Mr. Bensouda in his interview, I think with, I believe with Ken Fatu. About allegations of nepotism that gave contract to his aunt. It's quite strange that her aunt does not own the company. The company is owned by a former mayor who is an APRC. We all know is an APRC supporter. The former mayor. We all know. I think Mr. Mendy.
Mendy.
No, not Young. Yeah, I think Mendy. Mendy owned the company and he employed Talib's aunt. He worked with Talib's aunt and knows her competence and knows how much he could bring to the company. And in fact, that company has not even started working. Those are the sort of things that I'm throwing about. But the other thing about it is that that contract was given in 2024, outside the time of reference of the commission.
Yeah, because the commission should investigate from 2017 to 2023.
So 2023, but 2024, that just shows the bad faith. That just shows the witch hunt. And because you cannot get in, so you try to bring in some irrelevant things which are themselves false. What have they found? In Krewan Era Council that Mr. Bojan did that. What have they found? Have they found anything in Mazakonko Era Council that this is what Mr. Sane did? I'm saying that an individuals. But you have a $40 million. Is it I think $400 million. Corruption scandal at the Gambia Ports Authority for how many years? Under investigation, nothing is being done about that. These are the things that we are talking about. Adama Barrow is presiding over a corrupt system, and he is not doing anything about it because he himself has been overpowered by the people who are involved in this in this corruption thing. He has been overpowered them. He has been captured by them. State capture. So he couldn't do anything about it, and then come up with this lame excuse. Alamor Vijantole, council among them for love water. What a lame excuse. So what he said? Yala yaba ya fwe manakana. Why is that aliag? But alfa aliakele. Muna lal maltavo. So itata mole fola. Karuka bank abang kodu telebulu. Yeah, wa council ba bebe telekoto. Itata bebe fola.
Thank you very much, Mr. Darboe. We are just left with, it's an interesting conversation, and I wish we could have more time, but we're just left with 10 more minutes, and then we'll try to, push my few questions. Mr. Darboe, the Independent Electoral Commission has faced, a corruption scandal of highest magnitude, unbelievable. The audit report revealed that at least over $300 million has been embezzled or unaccounted for by the officials of the IEC. This is an institution, whose task is to conduct elections, in the country. Are you concerned about this latest scandal rocking the IEC? And if yes, what is the UDP position on this? Will this have an impact on the upcoming election, or does it have any relation to 2021 elections, which you challenged, but later, due to technicalities, your petition was thrown out by the Supreme Court?
Well, we are still digesting the report. Let me say, yesterday, I had a meeting with some of my advisors, and in the next few days, I'll come out with a well thought out statement on the matter. But one thing that baffles me is why a special audit report? Why not just an audit? Why a special audit report? Why? What prompted the Auditor General to go on to this special audit report? Of course, there are many, many gray areas for me that need to be properly looked into. And because of that, I do not want to make any statement now that I might subsequently want to modify. I just want to make statement, and whatever statement I make, I stand by it, and I'll be able to defend it. But it is shocking. 301 million. It is shocking. It is shocking that the IEC certainly allowed monies to be paid into private bank accounts. Where did those monies come from? And it is alleged that they are paid into the personal accounts of returning officers. And Aliuma Maranja himself was the returning officer for the presidential election. He was the returning officer for the presidential election. Why? And the unlisted, if I may say, the unlisted or unidentified workers, election duty, who perform election duties. Why has that happened? Now it's occurring to us that probably have been secret polling stations.
Wow.
Created where these unidentified, unlisted workers were probably posted to. So I'm not saying that is what has happened. I said there may be that possibility. There may be that possibility. There may be that possibility. So we certainly would want to know why a special audit report. Because, for instance, I mean the ombudsman. You have audit of the ombudsman as an institution if they are audited, but no special audit. And I want to say, I'm not sure what we're going to say, but I think you should just have a special, but let us also have a forensic audit, because this is a management audit.
Yeah.
This is a management audit. Yes. But then, as I say, yesterday I had a meeting with my advisors, and we're looking into this thing very deeply. And it's not an inconsequential matter. So therefore, any stand that we take on it should be a well-informed position, a position that cannot be challenged, a position that is impregnable, and a position that is that no one can controvert.
Okay. Mr. Darboe, in 2021 election, the UDP presented a 5-point agenda, very ambitious plan for the transformative development. Fast forward to 2024, how relevant is this ambitious proposal going into 2026?
Well, it is as relevant now as it was in 2021.
Okay.
No, the fact that years have gone by does not make it irrelevant. After all, Gambia's position has even worsened than it was in 2021. The issue of corruption, the debt burden, so all those matters there. The neglect of the agricultural sector, the neglect of the education sector. Can you see? I mean, our kids not having access to their results because Gambia government has not paid required fees to the West African Examination Council. Can you see? Can you imagine that happening? Can you see you go to Deban, in Bakau, which is part of the Edward Francis Teaching Hospital, an emergency that's supposed to be taking care of emergency situation, people lying on the floor.
Yeah.
People on the floor. I mean, inadequate medicine. Yeah. I mean, the Aki issue. Yeah? All those things were as relevant and they are all things that have been considered in our agenda, in our 5-point agenda. So it's just as relevant in 2021 for 2021 as it is now. Yes.
Anyway, Mr. Darboe, that is bringing us. I will ask you my final question before I let you go. If you have the opportunity to sit with your someone you brought into power, I will say, because President Barrow was part and parcel of the United Democratic Party before falling out with you. If you are to advise Barrow right now, face to face, what will you tell him?
I will tell him, Barrow, I'm disappointed that you have forgotten the ideas for which UDP stood. I find that disappointing. Yes. Because UDP's ideals are one of honesty. The ideas of UDP are ones of being truthful. UDP's ideas are one that you should not be deceitful. You don't deceive people. That is what UDP has always believed in. I'll tell him that I'm disappointed that those ideals which you agree to and which you espoused, you have really thrown away those ideals and embraced other ideals that are contrary to the ones that are held by us in the UDP, and I believe you also held on to them. And then that's really disappointing. But please, you still have a chance. You still have a chance to rehabilitate yourself. Come back, not to UDP, not necessarily to UDP, but come back and adopt the ideals that UDP have always stood for, which you had at one time espoused, and abandon your new embrace ideals. That's what I'll advise him.
Okay. That's a special conversation with a top political figurehead. That's lawyer Ousainou Darboe speaking there on the Gambia's journey from dictatorship to new democratic dispensation and prospect for effective transitional justice. It's me, your host, Seni MK Marina, that brought us to the end of this very important interview with Mr. Darboe. Many thanks, Mr. Darboe, for granting this rare interview to the Alcamba Times.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I'm also grateful that you have hosted me. And I hope this will not be the last time to host me.
Absolutely. Inshallah. I will continue to host you. Yeah, thank you so much. That's the final take with
me. Tune into the final take with MK Marina every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines, breaking issues, and major developments in politics, business, innovation, science, and sports, along with inspiring stories and expert analysis to provide a comprehensive understanding of the news.